What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to some more videos, and I'm here bringing you yet another character guide in my tutorial series. Today we're going to be going over Orie, and I think Orie is a very popular character. At least she used to be. I don't know if that has changed anytime soon, but I wanted to do Orie just because she is a very interesting character in this game. She has a lot of really cool things about her in this game, like for example her relaunch and her oppressive game style, and I really like that about her, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people really wanted me to go over a few things with Orie. So here you go, we're going to be going over Orie today. I'm not sure who I'm going to be going over next. It might be either Gordeau or maybe even Waldstein, who knows. We'll have to see when the video comes out, but for the most part, enjoy the Orie guide. Hopefully this helps you pick up Orie in one way or another and helps you kind of solidify the opportunity for you to play as her. Anyways, guys, enjoy the tutorial. We'll see you guys later. Welcome back to the lab, everybody. Here we are with Orie, and just like with every other guide, we're going to be starting off with her assist. Let's take a look at her 4P first. Her 4P is a unique one because it's not your traditional launcher compared to the rest of the cast. It's an orb that surrounds the character and that can clash with projectiles. I'm not going to showcase it here, but it can clash with regular projectiles, but not super projectiles. Super projectiles, I think, will blow through your character, but not Orie. It will not hit Orie because she's in the orb, which is kind of weird. But it does also have multiple hits. Oh, I kind of missed there. It does have multiple hits, which means that you can use this as a Okizeme tool. Now, if you guys don't know what Okizeme is, look it up on Google, or I'll do a FAQ later on in the future. But because of it has so many hits, whoops, wrong assist there. But because it has so many hits, you can set up some cool Oki situations when they're knocked down. So with that being said, there's also her 5P, which we kind of showcased off already. Whoops, wrong character. Her 5P, which is a not a lunging attack. It's she kind of throws herself at the opponent with a flurry of attacks and ends off with a launcher, which can be really good for combo extensions and can be used for lockdown purposes. So it's pretty versatile depending on how you want to use it. Pretty good. And there's also her 6P. Her 6P is a lunge that she lunges at the opponents. It's not a projectile, and that's usually where the projectile assists go, but she kind of makes herself a projectile in a way. That doesn't go full screen. It just goes like half of the screen, but it can be used for good purposes such as extending pressure, extending combos, and also if you want like somebody to have your back as you're approaching, you can definitely throw out Orie if you want to. So these assists really aren't too bad. They're actually pretty good under the right circumstances, especially the lockdown assist and the 4P, which can be used for really crazy situations such as Okizeme and just like locking them down and such. So it can be really good under the right circumstances. Pretty good. So not too bad assist, that's for sure. All right, now let's take a look at Orie's normals. We have her 5A, which is very similar to Hyde's 5A. It goes at a downward angle, has a really good amount of range, and it also is a pretty decent amount of startup. So it's pretty fast. Not super fast, but not necessarily slow. So very good button for you to start your combos and poke out with them. There's also her 5B, and her 5B has more of a vertical hitbox to it, which is kind of strange. Nonetheless, she does take a step forward, so it does have a decent amount of range too. And also, don't be surprised if you end up anti-airing with this button out of surprise, okay? Because it does have like more of a vertical hitbox on it. All right, next up we have her 2A, and her 2A is pretty stubby compared to the other uni characters and just any other character in general. It's pretty stubby, but nonetheless, it is a low Gatling low, which can be really good for poking them out and trying to, kind of check them for if they're blocking low. Also, it can be useful for situations such as jump canceling. Her 5A and her 2A are jump cancelable on block. I just want to point that out. I didn't point that out with Hyde, but with Orie, she can jump cancel her 2A and her 5A. Nothing else can be jump canceled with Orie or any of the uni characters really. So there's that. And there's also her 2B, and her 2B is her main anti-air. Now it's similar to Hyde's in the regard that she goes at an upward angle very, very high up, but it's not as good as Hyde's because it hits only in front of her. She doesn't necessarily have a backwards hitbox. I mean, she could. I haven't really tried it out too much, but for the most part, I have been getting blown up sometimes when they jump over me and they go for a cross up, and then all of a sudden I try to anti-air them and it completely misses. So be careful when using this anti-air. It's not necessarily as good as Hyde's or maybe even Ruby's because they both hit behind them. But Orie's is not as good, but it's still very, very good for if they're right in front of you. So keep an eye out for when people jump and just get ready to anti-air them with your 2B. And then just like with any of the other unique characters, they can reverse beats, which means that if you do the anti-air, you can cancel it into 2A to cancel out the recovery animation of your 2B. So there's that. Let's move on to her sweep, her 2C, which is that right there. Has a decent amount of range, actually. So it's really, really good compared to, let's say, hides that we already seen. So it's pretty good. That's a good sweep. Good range, good damage and such. It's a good combo starter as well because you can reverse beat for launcher situations and such. So pretty good. And just like with every other unique character, their 5C is just a jumping normal that is safe, has a slow startup, and yes, it's pretty self-explanatory for all unique characters. So now that we went over her grounded normals, let's go over her jumping normals. And we have her JA, which is really good, actually. If it's similar to Weiss's JA, that has a really long horizontal hitbox, but Orie's is better because she has more of a downward angle, which means that she can actually hit the button a little earlier than normal. Orie's is a super flat hitbox, which means that sometimes they might go over their heads. But because Orie's is at a downward angle, you can do some really cool things such as just jump up neutrally and just try to poke them out, you know, box them in, really. And we have her JB, and her JB has more of a upward hitbox. It's kind of strange. I know that you use this for combo purposes to prop them up into the air for you to relaunch, and I'll go over that later. But her JB really isn't too useful other than that specific purpose, okay? The one that you want to use and to use for jump-ins is your JC, and her JC actually can hit behind her, so you can use it as a cross-up. But for the most part, it has a really good downward angle and just completely swipes underneath her, which can be really, really good for jumping in on your opponent, trying to open them up. So I would recommend you using this button for jumping in on your opponent because you can cross up with it, and it's really, really good. And it also props them up downward really, really quickly, just like that. It's kind of cool looking. Now that we went over her normals, let's go over her special moves. Now, first off, let's start off with her lunge. She has quarter circle forward A, which is her light lunge. Let me actually get them to block, which is her light lunge. All of her lunges are safe, by the way. So this is her light lunge, which is really fast, and it kind of separates them. It has a huge space in between them, a lot of pushback. Her quarter circle forward B is a lot slower on startup, but it hits harder, and it has less recovery on it. And then there's also her quarter circle forward C, which is probably her best one, because whether or not you hit them or they block it, they get stuck in this little animation that they have to block. And not just that, but she's also plus on block, which means that you have the advantage and you can keep pressing buttons. For example, if Gordeau, I have the computer set to, he just presses the fastest button that he has, which is 2A. So if I do a lunging attack, I have the advantage, which means that I didn't time it right, which means that I have the advantage there and I can continue my pressure if they decide to kind of challenge my quarter circle forward C. So it's really good in that regard. It's plus on block, extremely fast, goes almost full screen, and just locks them down for you to do some more like shenanigans, such as use your assist and such to continue pressure, all that good stuff. Very good button. I recommend it 100% for you guys to use it. Next up, we have her quarter circle back, which is her her little persona that she has. She's the only character in the unique cast that has a persona-like move. Now, unlike the persona characters, you cannot hit this character or you cannot hit this figure, so you have to just hold it. You have to hit an Orie if you want to do any damage, so that persona is safe from any harm. All right, so she has quarter circle forward back A, which is actually a low. So if I is standing and they just block my mids, it's a low. It's a yellow exclamation mark. It's a low. And actually, if you keep pressing A, it has a follow-up, just like that, which does more damage and gives you more time to convert into an assist, just like that. And there's also her quarter circle forward back. I'm sorry, quarter circle back B. Oh my gosh, I can't speak today. Quarter circle back B, which is a big ol' swing. It's not an overhead, but it does do quite a bit of damage, and it does launch them if you do the follow-up as well. So let me get them to stop blocking here, just like that. And you can follow up with your assist. I missed it there, but you can follow up with your assist and such. It's pretty good. There's also her quarter circle back C, which launches them up like that. It's pretty good. And yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory there. And it does not have a follow-up, unlike the other normals. But it does do raw damage, so that's pretty good. Moving on to her jumping special move, she only has one, which is her persona special moves in the air, like this one right here. That one is actually an overhead, so you can kind of mess around with doing the regular one on the ground, and you can do the one in the air that's an overhead. Oopsies. Just like that. And you can instant overhead people like that because you can tiger knee it, which means that you do the move in the air very, very quickly off the ground. If you don't know how to do that, just Google it, or I'll do an FAQ on it soon, like I said before. And yes, so pretty good. There's also her air quarter circle forward back, or quarter circle back. I can't believe I'm saying that. Quarter circle back B, just like that. It is also an overhead, but this one does a big ol' hit, which means that you can follow up after it, just like that. It's a big special move that can launch, or you can continue after it. There's also her A in the J214, which is her quarter circle back in the air, C, and it's similar to just the grounded one, but instead of just staying there, she actually just like kind of retreats and jumps backwards. So that's her air special moves as well. All right, next up, let's talk about her distortion. She has two of them, just like everybody else. She has her lunging distortion here, which does a considerable amount of damage. It has a lot of hits, which means that you have plenty of time to DHC or do the second super with your partner. Just like that. I might miss here. I did miss. But for the most part, you have plenty of time to be able to connect that second super. Next up, we have our other distortion, which is her beam distortion. It does a good amount of damage. Well, that time it didn't. It's a kind of a weird distortion because sometimes some hits can miss because it takes them full screen if it does hit, which means that it has depending on the placement they are at, they're right in front of you, or if they're right or they're somewhere else on the screen, then you can definitely miss a few hits like that. All right. And it's really good because if all the hits connect, it's the most damaging super that you have. And it also has the potential of being a chip super under the right circumstances and with the right against the right opponents. You are able to use this as a distortion that can chip, just like that. Look at that. That's a good amount of damage, that's for sure, for a distortion that you block. So that's all her distortions there. And then of course there is her astral here. Oh, whoops, and her astral is one of the cooler ones in my opinion. Just like this. Now let's talk about her smart combo. She has a great set of smart combos, especially her 5A smart combo, which is that one right there. It doesn't do too much damage, but the moves that are incorporated into the smart combo are really, really strong, especially this one right here, because no matter where you get the confirm, if it would be here or back here or right in front of them, no matter what, because the second hit and the third hit all push forward, you are able to connect with it, so there's no inconsistencies with this smart combo at all, which means that you can get consistent combos anywhere you get the hits. All right, so that's her 5A smart combo. It's very, very good. That's the one you're going to be using the most because it has the most pressure because it presses forward, and you can get your combos very easily when you do this. Okay, her 5B smart combo is this one right here. Now the third hit of the B smart combo used to be an overhead, but they took that ability away from her in this game right here. So that move in general, it was independent in her game, and it was an overhead, but that's not the case in this game. It's just a regular mid, just like all the other hits. Okay, so it's not a bad auto combo for sure, but it does do a good amount of damage. It is your most optimal starter in terms of punishing and such for just basic bread and butters. You're gonna be doing that. So 5B auto combo, really good, but for the most part, I think her 5A auto combo is just so good because of the pressing, just when you press forward and stuff. And it can be push blocked, but nonetheless, it's still incredibly good. Now that we learned everything, her smart combos, special moves, normals, all that good stuff, let's talk about Orie the character. How are you going to utilize this character to perform well? Okay, so Orie is a very, very, very good rushdown character. She doesn't necessarily have any zoning tools, but she does just definitely have a lot of tools to close gaps, such as her lunges and especially her EX lunge, which can be used in many, many situations, such as for the frame advantage, which means that if they're blocking it, you can definitely keep continuing your pressure with the EX lunge there, because it keeps them locked in place, and you can also switch in an assist to continue your pressure as well. So she's a very pressure heavy character that can also have really sneaky mix-ups. All right, and what I mean by that is that whenever she goes into this smart combo right here, she has the ability to either do her low persona, which is just quarter circle back A, or remember when I said that her what was it called? Her 2A and her 5A were jump cancelable on block. Because of this, you are able to finish off, and because of her reverse beating, she is able to finish off her smart combo with a 2A and immediately jump cancel it into an instant overhead, just like that. And because of this, you create this little 50-50 situation where the opponent has to push block you in order to escape, because it is pretty tricky. Unless you either have to guess correctly or you have to just push block them away. So this is very good. That means she's a very pressing character, very oppressive. She wants to get in as much as possible. She has some very good jump ins as well. She does really good damage whenever she converts. She also has some really good special moves, such as this one as well, which you can convert off of by yourself. You don't even need an assist, just like that. And stuff, so and so. So that's her main game plan, and that's kind of the archetype that they gave to Orie in this game. So very oppressive character with all of her tools in her arsenal. She's a very, very strong character at that. Now, one of the big questions that people ask me is, how do you relaunch with Orie, or what's the notation that you use to relaunch with her? Now, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, a bunch of players like to relaunch with her, which means that if they go for an air combo and they prop them down to the ground, she has the ability to keep going after she props them down to the ground. All right, to go continue on to a distortion or to a special move or to an assist, whatever she wants to do, really. So this is what I'm talking about here. This is the combo that people are wondering about, just like that. And from then on out, you can do a distortion if you want, or you can continue it with a special move like I did there. Whatever the case may be, people are wondering what the notation is that I use, or that most people use, okay? So there's a couple of notations that you could use. The ones I use two in particular, depending on the situation that I'm in. But for the most part, to execute this combo, you really have to get your opponent off the ground, which means that you have to use your sweep in this if they are on the ground. If they're on the ground, you can do your 5A auto combo just like that, and then go for a sweep and then a 2B. And at that point, they're off the ground. You can continue on with the relaunch sequence, okay? So there's the combo. And with the sequence, or the notations that I use to do this, okay, is JB, JA, and the JB and the JA, you have to delay it quite a bit. So like that. That's JB, JA, and delay it in between the hits, okay? And then from then on out, you want to jump again and then do JA, JA, JC, JB. All right, it's kind of weird, I know, but try to piece it together. Get a piece of paper or something and write it down as I'm saying it, okay? I might put it in the description down below, but I have no promises really. So this is what you do: JA, JA, JC, JB, just like that. What that does, when you delay the first, this right here, it gives you time to jump up again, and then it kind of puts you underneath the opponents, which makes it so whenever you finish the combo with JC, you are still below the opponents, which gives you time to do a JB, which props them up into the air. You know, remember when I was saying that the JB is only useful for combo purposes? This is that purpose right here. So, and then when you reach the, when you get to the ground, you do a 2B. Whoops, I messed it there. You do a 2B, which kind of pokes them in the butt, just like that. And then you can do whatever special move you want, or if you want to do a distortion, either or. That's one of my one of the easiest ways to relaunch. The other notation is, instead of doing JB, you just do JA, JB, JAA, JC, JB. So like, for example, so instead you can just do that, and you don't have to delay anything really. So you launch JA, JB, okay, JA, JB, just like that. All right. Let's try it again. J-A-J-B, J-A-J-A, J-C, J-B. All right. So put that in mind. Rewind this sequence and rewatch it all over you want. But try and get this combo because this combo is essential to good Orie play because it makes her finish her combos consistently, get good Okizeme situations, and all that good stuff. All right. So practice this combo as much as you can, and that's how you relaunch with Orie. All right, next up, let's move on to the assist or characters that can go really well with Orie. Now, Orie is very oppressive, and she also has time. She also doesn't have a very good time approaching or getting in, except for, you know, the lunge. But for the most part, if you want, you can go two ways about this in picking your character or your team with Orie. You can go with a projectile or approaching based assist, which you can go with S, Yukiko, or with Blake. All three of these characters have extremely good projectile assists and really good combo extenders for cross combos for you to do some good damage. And you can't dismiss the boomerang, the firebird, or the really good double projectile with S. So these three characters extremely good with Orie. If you want to go about a more of a lockdown base team where you can have your assists kind of lock your opponent down while you move around freely and mix them up and get a bunch of shenanigans going, you can always go with Gordeau, Yang, and Jin. Jin in particular is really good because not only does he have a really good projectile assist that can be used to cover her approach, but it can also be used as a lockdown assist because it has so many hits and it's so massive. It does a lot of good damage that it's really, really good. Jin in particular is very good with Orie. Gordeau can't dismiss the Grim Reaper while you move around freely. And then Yang has a really good lockdown punching assist that can be used very, very strongly. So all these characters are very good with Orie. However, this is just only scratching the surface. If you guys want to try out other teams and other characters that might go well with Orie, don't let me stop you. This is just a few characters that I recommend if you want to build a team around Orie. Go nuts, guys. And that about does it, guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Orie guide. If I missed anything, let me know in the comment section down below. Like I said before in previous videos, I'm going to be doing this shorter type of guide format so I can bust through all of these guides. Hopefully, I can get all these put out at a decent time, especially before the other characters arrive. We have 9 other characters coming very, very soon. So hopefully, I'll be able to get all of these guides out before then. We'll see what happens, though. Let me know what you guys think of the guide, if you guys like this format or not. Leave a like if you guys did like, or if you learned anything new about Orie, or if you kind of solidified your game plan, or if you solidified your pick with Orie. Let me know with a like or within the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel for more BB Tag guides and more content coming your way. And also follow me on Twitter if you guys want to know anything about the channel or myself. Follow me on Twitter. So anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. I will see you all in the next guide or in the next video here on the YouTubes. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good night.